Okay, so we're still in the week September 21st to 24th. So we finished up chapter 6 last time. So you've got quiz 2 over chapter 4, and then you've got exam 2 next week over chapters 4 through 6. So because we are a little ahead, we're actually going to slow down a little bit and review a little bit over chapter 6 today, and then we'll pick up on chapter 9 next week. So if we go to the modules for week 6, I want to make sure you're aware of all the resources. So yeah, let's see, make sure you all are able to see everything. Let's see. So in the modules, I do post the videos. So these are the videos from the last couple of classes. So you've got access to notes, PowerPoints, links to the book, some different games. All right. Also, you have YouTube playlists that I created for you, so make sure you watch those. So sometimes, like if you're not understanding something that I've explained in class, you need a few more visuals. A lot of those videos are there for that. Some are in different levels. Some are more intro to the material. Some are more advanced. So it's a good reference point for you. Again, more games. All right, practice anatomy lab. I do want to show you for week 7. Let's see. Actually, this is going to be in week 8. I have for next week, even though it says week 8, we're going to start this next week. I have my own PowerPoint file that I created, and then a file that has some blanks on it. So I'd recommend that you for next Tuesday, you come with this one with the blanks already printed out, and then you can come and fill it in. Okay. So I just want you to be aware of that. But let's go ahead and focus on this YouTube playlist up here on the skeletal system. Okay. All right. So it's kind of an introductory video on the skeletal system here. A little more detail here on bones and the skeletal system. Another one here. These are a little more detailed. Obviously, these is really getting into some of the A&P1 nitty-gritty things that you'll need to know. And so definitely watch these as well. We're only going to show you a couple of these today, but these are concepts that I think you definitely need to spend a little time on. And I think they'll help out a lot as you study. So I'm going to actually pause the video. I'm going to play bones, this crash course. So if you're watching at home, go to the playlist and play this video, and then we'll talk about it when we're finished. All right, so the first question I've asked the class is, what's the difference between the axial and appendicular skeleton? So you can answer that at home. Next question, how are bones classified by shape? All right, next question. Explain compact bone, spongy bone, epiphyses, and metaphyses. All right, next question. What are osteons, lamellae, and lacunae? Okay, next question. What do osteocytes, osteoblasts, and osteoclasts do? Last question. What's the bone modeling process? What's the bone modeling process? All right, so before we start the next video, what I do want to tell you is, you also have a practical today. Make sure that you know the big categories for all those tissues. Is it epithelial? Is it connective? Is it muscle tissue? Is it nervous tissue? So when it asks for big tissue, it's one of those four. And also, even when it asks you for specific tissue, first you got to ask yourself, what's the big category? Okay? And if it's epithelial, then you got to ask yourself, how many layers are there? What's the shape of the cells at the top of the apical surface? Okay, that helps you tell what epithelium it is. If it's connective tissue, then you got to ask yourself, what subcategory am we in? Is it fluid, which is like blood or lymph? I think we only had to look at the blood slide. Is it supporting, like bone or cartilage? Is it connective tissue proper? And if it's connective tissue proper, it could be loose connective tissue or dense connective tissue. Remember, with the loose, you have like your adipose tissue, your areolar connective tissue, your reticular connective tissue. Then if it is dense, it can be dense regular or dense irregular. Okay? If it's muscle, then it's going to be cardiac, smooth, or skeletal, right? And if it's nervous, it's going to be your neurons or your neuroglia. Okay, so you have to work through that in your head. Because if you don't, then it's just like, I got to know 80 different tissues, right? So you have to just work your way down the list. Okay, so remember that. So, also remember your body membranes, right? You have your mucous membranes. Remember your mucous membranes secrete mucus, right? And they do that through goblet cells. Remember your serous membrane has transudate on the top of it, okay? Cutaneous membrane, that's your skin, right? Now we're gonna have your synovial membrane, has synovial fluid in it, right? So make sure you know that. So that gives you, that's my 5-minute overview. So you can at least go and do the practical thinking about that, okay? So let's get back into skeletal system. Let's go, we're gonna watch Professor Dave explain structures and types of bone, okay? And if you're watching at home, go to the playlist, watch the video, and we'll come back and talk about the video afterward. I'll ask some questions. So first question, describe cartilage and bone. Talk with your partners. You can also talk, try to do this at home. Okay, next question, what are some functions of bones? What are some functions of bones? Okay, next question. What other tissues are connected to bone? What other tissues are connected to bone? Next question. What's the difference between epiphyseal line and epiphyseal plate? What's the difference between epiphyseal line and epiphyseal plate? Next question. What's the difference between periosteum and endosteum? The difference between periosteum and endosteum. Okay, next question. What are the 4 types of bone cells and what do they do? All right, so we are going to switch to Video on endochondral ossification. So make sure, if you're watching at home, go to the playlist and click on this video. Okay, so we're gonna go to endochondral ossification next. So if you're watching at home, go ahead and click on that video. Well, yes, sorry, we're gonna do intramembranous ossification. We just did endochondral. Okay, so now we're discussing intramembranous ossification. You can do this at home. Yeah, just explain to the class the difference between intramembranous ossification and endochondral ossification. Intramembranous ossification, the bone comes from the mesenchymal cells, and in endochondral ossification, the bone comes from cartilage. Also, intramembranous ossification results in your flat bones of your skull, sternum, dermal bones, and your endochondral ossification arises from cartilage. All right, and you're making most of your long bones throughout your body. Okay, so make sure that you're using all of these resources in here that I provide for you. So you got the lecture videos, you got notes, PowerPoints, you got the YouTube playlist, which we went through today. You have some other videos in there, watch those. Links to the book, some games. Okay, smart art video on endochondral ossification. Okay, get some games on endochondral and intramembranous ossification. So make sure you look at those. You have a audio on bones reaction to stress. So make sure you check those out.